My ex-husband filed for divorce in December of 2024. However, I started actually plotting our divorce in December of 2021, and let's talk about it. In November of 2021, we had just celebrated our 5-year anniversary, and that was an absolute shit show. I'm not going to go into details. It was awful. Essentially, it ended up with me being abandoned in St. Augustine, Florida by myself, my parents having to come pick me up at 2 a.m. It was a hot mess. That is when I first had the conversations with both sides of my parents saying that I wanted to get a divorce from this man. The problem was at the time, Logan was only 3 years old, and I really didn't feel comfortable with him being a parent one on one. So, this is where the plotting began. In January of 2022,
This right here is sick, bro. Fellas, these women are dangerous, bro. Think about this, right? She told her parents before she told her husband. So that's the man who got down on one knee to save her, to put her on a pedestal. And when she's ready to return back to the streets, she plotted on this man. Cold game. Let me tell you about an app called Free Cash. Free Cash is the #1 app worldwide, allowing users like yourself to make money off their phone for free. If you want to make $200 plus a week for free, download using my link in the description or the QR code on the screen. If you download now for free using my link or QR code, you will get a free $5 into your account for free. That's $5 for free, no requirements. So download Free Cash today to make easy, quick, and free money. Cold game.
I started going to therapy one on one on my own to basically mourn my marriage, to get over it, to have some coping skills of self coping. I wanted to, discuss recovering from being with someone who was a chronic victim. I wanted to talk about abandonment. I wanted to basically unpack everything. I went to therapy for about a year and a half. The majority of that was actually done in private. I did not disclose to my former husband that I was going to therapy one on one because I just didn't want him to know how deep I was going.
No, because you want to be ahead of the game. Fellas, this is how devious and evil these women are. Think about it, right? She's already planning her exit. Matter of fact, to me, once you marry a woman, she's already planning her exit, bro. She's already planning the divorce. Y'all gotta understand how women works, bro. Everything is planned out. Everything is premeditated, bro. All these chicks do is sit back every day and create fantasies, drama in their brain. They plan everything out, bro. All they do is sit back, observe. They are very curious. That's why, as a man, you got to be ahead of the game. It's your job. If you decide to save a woman, it's your job, brother, to sit back and observe her. Because from the time your ass gets oblivious and get comfortable and think, oh, my wife loves me, that's when she's going to hit you blindsided. And you know why she's going to therapy and things like that? She is preparing herself. What is she doing? She is powering up right now, brother. So when she come to you with the divorce, it must hit you like nothing ever hit you before. She's trying to put you out the game, bro. That's why when a woman leaves a man, she's really leaving him for dead. Especially if a man's wife leave him, bro, she don't want to see you thrive again. This is well planned out, bro. She's executing this man. Believe it or not, bro. She's planning this shit out so she could really end this man. Think about this, bro. She's preparing herself so she's gonna be ahead of the game. She already healed. She already get over him while she's still with him. Think about that, bro. She already got over you while she's still with you. Sad, bro.
My ex-husband filed for divorce in December of 2020. Essentially, it ended up with me being abandoned in St. Augustine, Florida by myself, my parents having to come pick me up at 2 a.m. It was a hot mess. That is when I first had the conversations with both sides of my parents saying that I wanted to get a divorce from this man. The problem was at the time, Logan was only 3 years old, and I really didn't feel comfortable with him being a parent one-on-one. So this is where the plotting began. In January of 2022, I started going to therapy one-on-one on my own to basically mourn my marriage, to get over it, to have some coping skills of self coping. I wanted to, discuss recovering from being with someone who was a chronic victim. I wanted to talk about abandonment. I wanted to basically unpack everything. I went to therapy for about a year and a half. The majority of that was actually done in private. I did not disclose to my former husband that I was going to therapy one-on-one because I just didn't want him to know how deep I was going. In March of 2022, I also got a personal trainer at the gym. I had been talking with my primary care provider about treating my PCOS, possible bariatric surgery, and next steps. In August of 2022, I started a GLP-1 medication, which you guys know, which is why you guys follow me. And that was pretty much a huge catalyst. So essentially, over the next 2.5 years, I focused on myself. I focused on my career. I focused on my content creation. I focused on my health. I focused on building a foundation for my son. And honestly, when he actually filed for divorce, I did not shed a single tear. I was ready. Our last fight was over religion. He wanted to start taking our son to church. I said I needed a reason why. We had never gone to church the entire duration of our marriage. Why are we going to start going to church now? Could not provide me a good enough reason. I said I would die on this hill, that I didn't believe in taking our son to organized religion when we did not raise him into the church. He took that.
Brother. Damn, son. He just realized who he married. He just realized that his wife is a demon.
Very literally and filed for divorce a couple weeks later, unbeknownst to me, with no conversation. So in those years, did I hoard resources? No. I did not hoard any resources. We always had separate bank accounts. We always had separate finances. The only things that I paid for, I paid for. The things that he paid for, he paid for. Really, the big component was getting myself physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared for a divorce. I'm not going to lie, making myself marketable was a huge part of the plot. When he did tell me he filed for divorce, was I blindsided by the divorce? Yes, because he never took initiative to do anything. And so the fact that he took initiative to do that was a little bit jarring. But was I unprepared heading into what was to come next? Absolutely not. What I was unprepared for, however, was receiving his financial affidavit and finding out that he hid money from me while I was working 3 jobs. So when women say that they did not mourn,
Bro, it's always about the money, fam. That's what I'm saying. That's why you can't trust these women, bro. When it comes to marriages, fam, it's always about the money. Think about that, bro. You trying to move on with your life, right? Because things didn't work out with you and the woman that you thought would have been your wife. You trying to move on peacefully. But when it comes to a woman, you gotta pay her, bro. You gotta pay her. And you all gotta understand, bro, that's the system that we are in. Whether a woman get money on the strip from a man or she get money through a divorce, you still gotta pay these bros, bro. Think about that. Don't get trapped, fellas. Don't get trapped.
Their marriage. They never shed a tear over their marriage. What they did cry over was the quality of life for their children. I am a living testament that that is absolutely the case. I never shed a tear over that man. I would never shed a tear about him today. I would never shed a tear about him tomorrow. And quite frankly, had he cheated on me during our marriage, I probably would have been like, sure, cool, whatever, don't care. I'm going to be discussing and unpacking a lot more of the things that led up to divorce, the things that pertain to me individually as a woman, things that pertain to me as a mom.
This shit is sad, bro. So now she's making content to inspire other birds like her. Now, the good thing in this situation, apparently the husband had enough, right? And he filed for divorce. He decided to find peace. But the problem is, she already ahead of the game. She already got everything planned out. So she already contacted lawyers and things like that. So she's gonna get his money, man. Fellas, that's a sad thing about most relationships where the man is the provider. It's like, bro, you damn near, if you decide to marry a woman and you have a lot of resources, unless you put it in your mother's name or something, what's the point of marriage? What's the point of marrying a bird who's going to make her way back to the streets one day? Just listen to this woman, bro. She never loved him. So then you got to ask yourself, oh, damn, so why you had a child by him? That's the thing about these birds, bro. They will have children with men that they are not into. Birds create broken homes. This right here is sad, man. Fellas, please leave your thoughts in the comments. It's your boy AyeQ. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm out. Yo, imagine him being in a hospital trying to deal with, and the baby's coming out. Fellas, again, focus on yourself. That's what it is.